Hello and welcome to this IsleVote21 online meeting for the Isle of Wight County Council, the seat of Ryde Appley and what's it called?
Ryde Appley and Elmfield.
Elmfield, that's it, Elmfield.
Oh.
Sorry, I got my note in. Oh, here it is. It's here. Good. Okay. I have been more professional than this. A brief word for the benefit of the public. IsleVote21 has been formed with the sole purpose of enhancing democracy by providing an unbiased platform for candidates. We have no affiliations or funding, and no candidates are aware of what questions will be asked today, although a list of topics was distributed in advance to enable candidates to prepare. All 138 candidates in this year's election have been invited, either directly or via group and party leaders. The following candidates have been invited to this meeting. Tiarnan Finney, if that's not how it's pronounced, we can't get it corrected because I don't know, for the Conservative Party, Paul Hanpton for the Greens, and Michael Lilley of no description. So essentially an independent, but no description given. The following candidates are in attendance. That's Michael Lilley. So welcome, Michael.
Hello.
Candidates, or Michael, will be asked questions from our pool of questions, plus others that have been submitted by the public regarding island-wide issues and others regarding their specific locality. Michael's been informed there's a 2-minute limitation on answers. I'll raise my hand as we approach that cutoff and request that he finishes up promptly afterwards. I'm being fairly flexible on time. You know, if there's a detailed question, that's fine. Because there are no other candidates here, that's not going to be unfair to anybody. So don't worry too much about the 2-minute time. Once it gets to about 4 o'clock, I might stop you. But
I want to get out in the sun. So yeah.
Well, I've got a glass to cut. So yes. Okay. So before we commence with the questions, Michael, would you like to give us a 2-minute personal statement?
Yes, I would. Thank you. My name is Michael Lilley. I'm a retired mental health practitioner and chief executive. I've lived in Ryde Appley and Elmfield ward since 2013 with my wife, and together we have 5 adult children and 2 grandchildren. I was elected to Ryde Town Council in 2016 in a by-election, and to Isle of Wight Council in 2017. I am standing for Isle of Wight Council as myself, with no labels. I believe in good old-fashioned community service, and in that light, I'm a local man representing the residents of the community I live in. In the last 2 years, I've had the honour of being the mayor of Ryde, which I've totally adored, even though it's been a very difficult time. I've loved Ryde all my life, especially the historic community of Appley and Elmfield. I successfully campaigned to the local Electoral Boundary Commission a change in the ward name from a geographic description of Ryde East to one that celebrates the historic names of Appley and Elmfield. I am proud I achieved that, and I'm proud to stand for that ward with that name. I come from Appley and Elmfield. The biggest issue for me in the ward is overdevelopment and building on viable and sustainable farmland. I have been an active leader in the Save Westridge Farm campaign since 2014, and if re-elected as an Isle of Wight councillor, I will continue the fight as the councillor with all my heart and passion. It is wrong to build 465 houses in Elmfield on the farm that has been there for hundreds of years, and a farming family would actually be made homeless, and a farm that is environmentally friendly destroyed. I believe in keeping engaged with residents. I have a quarterly newsletter that goes out, and I'm in my 18th edition. And throughout COVID, I, as mayor, led the Ryde coronavirus response team to make sure that residents not only survived, but they are supported to recover and for our town to be great again. I love Ryde.
Excellent. Thank you, Michael. So I'm going to ask you two specific questions about Ryde. We'll do one, then do the other. How would you approach the issue of too many houses planned, some without planning permission currently, for Ryde? So how would you approach the issue of too many houses planned, some without planning permission currently, for Ryde?
Well, I'll separate those questions because there are two issues in Ryde. One is incredible overdevelopment. We have already about 1,600 houses that have on outline planning permission, and they're actually going to be built on the green space that's within the border, and actually totally increase the deficit of green space in Ryde. So it's a huge issue. There are two other planning applications, one for 50 houses and one for 465, which would push that figure over 2,000. We don't have the roads, we don't have the infrastructure, we don't have the schools, we don't have the parking for all the cars from those estates that will come into the town. It is totally unviable, and I've been fighting this for many years and will continue. We have now a Ryde Place plan and a Ryde plan, and Ryde Town Council totally objects to the current applications and wants to renegotiate the outline planning permissions, particularly for an area called Pennyfeathers, which has been going on a fight for many, many years. What we do need housing, but we need it on brownfield sites. And in Ryde, there are a number of brownfield sites. And I've recently supported 5 houses on a former council depot in my ward to get planning permission built by a local builder, building bungalows for local older adults that need to, who want to step down from 3 or 4 bedroom houses and stay in the area. So we need good local small schemes, not these huge schemes on that. Can I just answer the without planning permission?
Yeah, sure.
This, I think, reflects to what we call permitted development. This is where people bend the rules a bit and use permitted development to actually build houses. So, for instance, little chalets that were for visitors suddenly become houses. A house is totally rebuilt to have another floor and things, all under permitted development. I've been campaigning against a number of these, and it's extremely difficult. What we do need is to have an island plan which is fit for purpose, and I have been working hard with the MP and the former cabinet, well, the cabinet member for housing and planning, to actually get a fit for purpose island plan, which actually tackles issues like permitted development, which is a real plague in our community.
Do you consider that the housing stock is changing on the island? Because, as you say, an existing property is demolished and turned into something bigger, to the extent that you end up with 3-bedroom properties becoming 4-bedroom, 4 becoming 5, 5 becoming 6, whatever. So it changes the nature of the housing stock, which of course makes it harder for younger people to get onto the housing ladder, because there are no longer the 2-bedroom or 3-bedroom places available to purchase. Would that be fair?
No, absolutely. In fact, the need on the island is for 1 and 2 bedroom flats, and for younger people to want to get into having a mortgage that they can step into. The reality is all these big developments are meant to have affordable housing in them, but that is 80% of the cost. Now, a 4 or 3-bedroom house in Ryde, especially on new development, is heading towards 300, 400,000. Actually affordable on the island is about 60%. and not 80%,
Mm.
because people don't have the wage levels
No.
of the mainland, and therefore they cannot afford to have that. One scheme that I was pushing forward, an idea, was to have 3-story houses that have a flat at the bottom
Mm-hmm.
and a maisonette at the top. This has been done in Cornwall, and a couple, the first-time buyers, get a mortgage with renting out the flat through a housing association.
Right.
So includes in their income, that increases their income to get a mortgage. It means that they get a home, but someone who needs a flat gets a home at the same time. We
Right.
need imaginative schemes like that to help. And none of the developers on the island with these big schemes have listened to those ideas, and they actually just really want to make money. And it's very
Yeah.
interesting in Ryde, the big developments are advertised on the mainland. And most of the
Mm.
people
Mm.
that wish to buy, and no disrespect to them, are people who want to retire here.
Yeah.
And people are welcomed, but we've got to get the balance right. And at the moment,
Yeah.
the balance is against people who live on the island who can't get on to the mortgage ladder.
Okay. That sounds very innovative. I've not heard that idea before, but that sounds really good. Okay. Move on to the second question, specifically about Ryde. How will you make plans, or what plans would you make to improve the nightlife to what it once was? Now, I don't know what the nightlife in Ryde was
Oh,
like.
I can tell you in the 70s, we had a wonderful hotel, which is sadly just left to empty at the moment, which was called the Royal Hotel, and used to have
Oh, yeah.
fantastic bands and things. And I saw, Pink Floyd there and side. It was absolutely fantastic venue, and there was a life. I had the first white stack shoes in bought from Russell and Bromley shop that sadly now is Ladbrokes. But yes, I remember the area very well, and it did have a wonderful life. There is a lot of venues, and we need to get them over after COVID. That's been a very difficult time for our community and for our businesses. But we have got a very proactive Ryde Town Council who's been buying property, and we've actually bought Vector's Hall, which was a very famous dance hall,
Mhm.
from being derelict, and we're looking at plans for that. We bought back St Thomas's Church, which was the first church in Ryde to become a
Mhm.
youth centre and youth venue. And our big plan is to get the town hall back and theatre, because that was a marvellous venue, and that would, right in the centre, would really open the town.
That was
One
the theatre that was vandalised fairly
Yes,
recently.
yes, and we've been campaigning to get it over. Isle of Wight Council many years ago sold this to private owners, and we've been plagued by that. But
Mhm.
there's a very strong proactive movement now in Ryde, which is actually, getting these properties back.
Good.
The big thing that we achieved, and we'll continue, is Ryde got the historic High Street Awards from Historic England, and we brought in about £1 million into the town, and that is to get the High Street and the Union Street buzzing again, and
Mhm.
and to actually, yes, build up a coffee culture, people outside, and really develop and link to our carnivals in the thing. We love a carnival in Ryde, and
Mm.
really create that atmosphere. And it's really happening right through COVID. Businesses, delicatessens, cafes, sweet shops have actually been opening, and we are building that movement. We have the 2 international carnival companies that are based here, that are worldwide. I mean, Ryde is known for its carnivals in Brazil, you know,
Mm.
We're known for our Mardi Gras and things. So yes, there's big plans, and we had Ticket to Ride last year, just after the lockdown, and we had musicians all around the town, and playing music, and we had magicians and really bringing the town alive. So yes, I want to be out there with everybody else
in your
celebrating
white stack shoes.
in my white stack shoes as celebrating. So yes,
Brilliant.
we have got some
Okay,
good moves to do that.
right. Do you have specific projects in mind that you would pursue in the council? Any specific projects or
Yes,
project?
I do. The biggest issue for me on the island is mental health and the mental well-being of our community. Um, we actually have a very high suicide rate on the island. It's a subject which is many brush under the carpet. We have a very strong men in sheds movement, because actually 80% of those suicides and a large percentage of people that end up in our acute mental health services are men,
Mm,
and they are older men. Uh, Also, coming up into the field is younger men as well, and also women, but it has been traditionally quite a male issue. And so my project, and I've been campaigning for years, is to get really good community grassroots mental health services on this island, and to radically reduce that suicide figure, which is about 2% higher than the national average.
right.
We need to bring that down, and we need to put mental well-being at the forefront. Actions speak louder than words, and
Yeah.
I have campaigned for many years. People know that regarding this, my passion on improving the mental health, because and COVID has probably brought many more people into the mental health
Mm.
services agenda within that. So
I'm
I'm hoping to see better facilities and supporting our community, especially members of our community that are depressed and anxious.
I'm sure you're right about the COVID. I mean, it's not just the fact that COVID has affected social interaction, but there's long COVID as well. People are
Yeah.
suffering from long COVID, whereas before they were active, sporty. They're now shuffling around, struggling to get upstairs, struggling for breath. A real change in their lifestyle, and these can be 40, 50-year-olds as well, not just older people.
No, it's really hit people. I was a specialist for many years in
Mm,
post-traumatic stress, and we have a lot of people that now have COVID post-traumatic stress,
yeah,
and we need to recognise it, and in every policy strategy that has to be at the forefront,
and there
because
is a
how
COVID.
can you get a job if there's a job there if you're not
Yeah,
actually feeling good about yourself?
exactly. And there is a COVID recovery centre on the island, I think, long COVID.
Yes, there
Though
is.
it's actually open yet, but
No, I've been involved in all the discussions regarding COVID recovery, and I have to say that after having incredibly poor mental health services, we are now improving, and
good.
the NHS is now listening to people, and I can see that in the next 4 years we start to have model services, but
Good.
we'll only get them by having a very, very strong political voice
Yeah.
regarding that. Mhm.
I think anything that can be done to prevent suicides, not by physically preventing people from committing suicide, but dealing with the root cause of the problems, why they get to that state, is just so
It's
important because it's a huge waste of life. It's the effect it has on family and on friends and other
it,
people in the community. It's dreadful.
it is, and I mean, a child who's had a father or mother who takes their own life
Mm,
is 10 times more likely to take their own life in their adulthood.
I actually
So
know somebody who's in that situation. Their
so we
father committed
need,
suicide.
we
Yeah,
have to look at it as a community issue. It's not an individual issue, it's a community issue, and we have to own it.
excellent. Okay, we're going to move on to a couple more public questions. What can be done to improve educational aspiration for residents of all age? So I think aspiration in the personal sense, but also opportunity as well.
Well, I'm going to answer this from an adult perspective before I go on to children,
Mm-hmm.
because there has been very quietly behind the scenes a reduction in adult education on this island.
Oh, yeah.
We do not have a university. So people, you've got to have very good further education, adult education, for people to rebuild their lives. We've just spoken about mental health. If your life crashes, you've got to be able to rebuild it. And you do it by going on a self-esteem course. You go on to explore different kinds of skills. It might be woodwork, it might be portrait painting. You need that. And you can only do that if there's effective adult education. And if as a parent, you know, as a single parent, you know, many moons ago, I was a single parent dad, and I had to rebuild my life. It was adult education and a good local library that actually saved me, and I was able to retrain and start a new profession. And you need those stepping stones. And if you don't have solid, good things, that then affects your children. You know, because I went to a university as an adult, a mature student, that actually encouraged all my children to go to university.
Mm-hmm.
So you build up, you actually help the children by having very good, effective adult education. And we don't have that. We have a little adult education department, which is brilliant, but they need funding. And one of the things I want to see is I want the universities, particularly Portsmouth University, to have a base in Ryde, because we're closer to Portsmouth than we are to Newport on the
Oh, yeah.
island. And we
Absolutely.
need to build that link with Portsmouth University,
Yeah.
because that actually then helps people to aspire to do something different.
What about U3A on the island? Is there an active U3A organisation?
There is, but again, it needs resources and support. I mean, we have an incredibly active voluntary sector. Without it, no one would have survived COVID on the island. It really did kick in, and we need that. So we do need a university of the third age, and I mean, we have it, but we need to be really encouraging that and making it, you know, free to people that haven't got resources.
Yeah.
And so we need intergenerational work, and I suppose that leads me on to youth services in Ryde. When the Isle of Wight Council cut the youth service, we picked it up, and we're the only area that has a all singing, all dancing youth service, and we're going to have a new youth centre right in the heart. We need the older generation, which are the majority on the island, working with our young people in an intergenerational way, which actually enables young people to develop a future. I left the island to get work at 17. If everyone at 17 leaves the island, we will just turn into being an old people's home.
Yeah. Yeah.
We have got to actually work with generations, and I'm very keen to see that. And in fact, one of the things I'm doing on Ryde Town Council is encouraging young people to change the age ratio on the council. The average age on Ryde Town Council is 72.
Yeah.
I
Well,
want
I
to get
think
it. I want to get it to 50, and that's by encouraging young people to stand.
Well, there are some young people who are standing, of course, for the county council elections.
Yes,
I've been with Cameron Palin earlier, who's on the town
absolutely.
council for is it for Cows or East Cows? Not sure which.
I think Cameron has. I've seen him over the last 4 years from a sort of 14-year-old.
Mm.
Um, absolutely campaign, and we campaigned together for the ice rink,
Mhm.
which was sadly lost. And one day, hopefully, Cameron and I can see an ice rink come back.
Yeah, stop bringing that average age down. And I feel like that sometimes. I've been to events and said to my wife,
I look forward to being the council with Cameron. I think he would
yeah,
be a great asset.
yeah. No, I think he's got a lot of good ideas.
Mm.
Okay, we need to press on. We received several questions relating to special educational needs, so SEN and autistic children, and how much parents struggle with provision for them. If elected, what will you do to champion the rights of these children? Rights and opportunity, I guess.
Well, firstly, I have been championing this issue because it is a total disgrace. The island has a very high level of children with autism that are on the autistic spectrum, much higher than in other areas in the southeast. Um, there are sort of reasons for that, and those families are really struggling, and are struggling even more as their children become adults,
Mm,
and there isn't necessarily the facilities for them to step onto and to for independent living. We need much more of a flow and working with those families. We have the highest number in proportion to our population of home educated children,
mhm,
and a high percentage of those home educated children have autism.
mm,
So we really need to do that, and that's why I've been working with parents as a counsellor uh, to actually try and get their voice heard. And I will continue of that. And I think one of the first things I would like to see is a conference as soon as possible under COVID rules of families uh, to actually, with the Isle of Wight Council to discuss this issue and own the issue that it is a disgrace and that we need to be supporting these families within that. We also need to, and again, I've been campaigning for this, recognise poverty in families on the island.
mm.
And often families with children with autism, are suffer with the realities of poverty,
Yeah.
and we need to tackle these issues. So it is a very, very strong issue to my heart. Yeah.
Okay. Right. Couple more questions. Again, I think this is one that's probably quite dear to your heart, given where you are geographically. We've had many questions pertaining to cross Solent travel links, the ferries, reliability, and costs. How would you address existing concerns, and do you have a vision for improved connectivity?
Yes, I think we need to separate this, because the words cross Solent travel also refers to the cross Solent travel kind of campaign, particularly for people having to go for health reasons to Southampton and Portsmouth.
Mm-hmm.
And I campaigned solidly to for the NHS not to get rid of the grant that helped those families who often can't afford to go and see their loved ones of that. Obviously, in COVID, that's been impossible, but there
Mm-hmm.
was a big reality before. On the actual reality of the fairs, yes, I mean there are children in Ryde who have never gone to the mainland, right?
Really?
Yes,
Good grief.
right. Because their families cannot afford that. About a year, I'm a governor of a local school, and a couple of years ago raised money for them to go to Winchester Science Centre.
Mm-hmm.
And out of the children, there were a number of the children in the class, and these were like 9-year-olds, 10-year-olds, who'd actually never been on the mainland. And I was shocked
Yeah.
by it, but that's a reality, and we do need to tackle, I think, an island act, an act of parliament, not a deal, but an act of parliament and I've been campaigning. I bring it up every year in the council for the last 4 years. Sometimes I've withdrawn it. I sometimes get laughed about it, but I say we don't need a deal. We need an Island Act, and in that act, we would cap the fares for particularly residents of the island, so that they have much more equality with the mainland. I would like to actually see us have shares in those companies as well, or bringing them back. But I want to put a little thing is hover travel. The hovercraft has kept going right through the pandemic, and it's the last commercial, I believe, the last commercial hovercraft in the world, and it's very important because of the sands in Ryde. They have been heroes and heroines, taking people backwards and forwards, particularly the hospital and side. So I wish to give a clap to hover travel, because they've been fantastic. White Link, I'm on to them. They are back. Fastcat is back on the 29th of April. And I will be going across to celebrate that fact. And we did get the Fastcat White Link did come back early on lockdown. They were threatening to not come back till October, the 1st of October, and they did come back in the August. And we had a campaign called Ticket to Ride, which we worked with them. So I'm keen to build a solid relationship with them, but I firmly believe we need an Island Act to cap fares.
This is something similar in Scotland. I think they have Island Acts, don't they?
I've been looking at the Scottish model, and believe that we could get an Island Act. So that's something I would like to passionately see.
I mean, what you said earlier on about children who've never been to the mainland, that's a bit like inner city children never been to a farm, never been out of the concrete jungle and actually going onto a farm. But I never thought that would happen on the.
That's why I want to save our last farm in Ryde for that reason. Right?
Okay, so we're going to wrap up now with one final question, and then I'll ask you to make a closing remarks. Knowing your local community as you do, what local issue would you like to address that you know is of concern to residents?
Well, the big issue is Save Westridge Farm. That is the number one priority, and preserving green space in the ward. I do not want to see the ward becoming a concrete jungle, right? Ryde Appley and Elmfield were settlements of Ryde, and Elmfield was a village in its own right, with 3 working farms around it, and now there's only 1 remaining, and it's not an organic farm, but it's a grass-fed dairy farm of high quality milk within that. A family that is now in the 4th generation, and in our community, the loss of that farm would destroy the character of the area. That's why I campaigned to the Electoral Commission to be called Ryde Appley and Elmfield, to raise the issue of this farm. We need a farm to produce that. This farm could produce half the milk for the residents of Ryde. That it could produce eggs, it could produce vegetables. And one of the things we want to do, it's a tenant farm, is to support that tenant farm to not only defeat a planning application for 465 houses, which would destroy their livelihood, to actually get the farm to be a community farm, actually owned. It's been done around the country as that. So once we've defeated that planning application, we're going to crowdfund and buy that farm for the community.
Good.
And support it. So our local children that haven't visited the mainland can visit a local farm and learn about how food is produced.
Right. Okay, well, thank you for answering the questions. I think we've had some a good discussion there. Certainly covered the range of areas. Obviously, your expertise as mayor of Ryde has given you a lot of insights and knowledge. So that's extremely useful. So, if you'd like to just say 2 minutes to wrap up, really, not
Oh,
you wrap up, but wrap up the topics and the discussions.
thank you. Well, as a local man, right, who loves living where I live, I'm not someone who's parachuted in. I'm here. I have a proven track record in the last 4 years as an Isle of Wight councillor. I put forward motions and asked many questions. I successfully put the motion for Isle of Wight Council declaring a climate emergency to actually tackle climate change on the island. I put successfully the motion on mental health, getting the island to establish the mental health challenge and to start listening to people who are depressed and anxious and have mental health issues. I'm the council put motions to reduce child poverty on the island and raise the issue of period poverty with the Red Box movement. I have been in a minority as an opposition, but I haven't been a quiet voice. I've put the most motions of any councillors. I've asked the most difficult questions, and as vice chair of scrutiny, I really put the council through paces in a soft and gentle way, but I've been hardcore on that. We need to tackle the issue of housing developments, and we need to stop inaffordable 3 and 4 bedroom houses. We need to get government legislation and Island Act to bridge the inequality of islanders compared to the mainland. I will continue to serve my ward residents if elected, Ryde residents and island residents, ordinary people, to make sure they are heard, listened to, and we have real outcomes that they have achieved. And we have done that in Ryde and through Ryde Town Council in the last 2 years that I have been mayor. And that's all I wish to say.
That's good. Michael Lilley, thank you ever so much for your time today. I'll stop the recording now.